Viewers, I'm back again after a long spell. Today we want to start on a series of a few experiments on experimentation. If this is your first time to join me in this group, please press the subscribe button, click the bell, so that each time I have a presentation, you'll be notified. And please remain tuned up to the end. Right now, most of us, we are looking forward to doing our practical exams. And this is an issue I want to address today, as well as the following videos that I'll be uploading. So today I want to look at the concept of experimenting or experimentation. Because when you're doing practicals, you're actually experimenting. So what is experimentation, or what is experimenting? What are you really doing? Experimenting is the primary method which is normally used by scientists so that they can get evidence for ideas. And when you're experimenting, you are the one who is going to choose the topic that you are going to experiment on. You are going to choose your location, you are going to choose the time you are going to do that. Why should you be the one to choose? Simply because you are the one who wants to make discoveries. You want to test certain ideas which will put forth as possible solutions of some problems. And when you're experimenting, you now also require some measured instruments which must be put in place, and there are certain variables which needs to be controlled. And you can only do this if you are the one who chooses the time as well as the location. So when you're experimenting, there are a number of variables which you need to control, because these variables will affect your results. So let's have a quick look at some of the variables that we need to consider. The first one is the independent variable. Please check the spelling. Independent variable. The independent variable, this is the part of the experiment which you are manipulating, or the part of the experiment that you are changing. This is the one that we consider the independent variable. Let's take, for example, here in Zimbabwe, this is now the rainy season, and we are now planning to grow or plant our crops. And as a scientist, you want to find out the best fertilizer which you can use to apply for maximal plant growth, for instance. So the type of fertilizer is your independent variable. So you can choose a variety of fertilizers, may be produced by different companies. So we are now saying, for us to determine the type of fertilizer, you can choose different types of fertilizers manufactured maybe by different companies. So you want to find, for example, the company which is going to give you the best fertilizer. So you can choose 3 different types of fertilizers. And these fertilizers, these are now the ones that you are changing. So they now belong to the independent variable, because these are the ones that you are manipulating, or the ones that you are changing. And then we have the dependent variable. The dependent variable, these are the measurements which you must now perform in order to test how the fertilizer is performing on your plants. For example, continuing with our fertilizer example, we have chosen maybe the maize plants. We applied fertilizer A, fertilizer B, fertilizer C. Then after a week, on a weekly basis, we are going to go and measure maybe the length of the plant, or maybe you are going to go and measure the length of maybe a leaf, or we can check the colors of the leaves. These are the dependent variables. Okay. And then we also need to have the controlled variables. The controlled variables, these are now the factors which must be kept the same in all parts of the experiment, so that none of them may have an effect on the overall experiment other than the independent variable. So for instance, continue with our fertilizer example. The controlled variables will include 1, the type of plants. You should, if I say I'm going to use maize, they should be the maize plants for O, A, B, and C. And your seedlings, when you take them, they should be almost the same height, leaf color the same, and everything else should be the same. 2, the location where you plant the plants should also be the same. If you subject them to the shade, all of them should be subjected to the shade. If you subject them to the sunlight, they should be the same. Even the soil type, the amount of water that you are going to use in watering your plants should be the same. If you are going to use any pesticides, use the same pesticides on all 3, so that the only thing that what is going to be different of the 3 is the type of fertilizer applied. Otherwise, all 3 should be subjected to the same of the controlled variables. This is so that your results are going to be comparable, and there's no other factor which can also influence your results other than the independent variable.